What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Live service games have been all the talk recently, especially since many of them shut down even before they come out. Others are here for a couple of weeks and they're gone. Well, now we're seeing one of the biggest live service games on the market having to adjust some of their pricing because it's too costly to run. That's at least what they're saying. We're going to look at that and how that can affect the gaming industry here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a big Switch 2 game coming from Nintendo that has now been dated, setting up the next few months heading into the summer. And we have one game that's been revealed that Nintendo and actually Pocket Pair with Pal World aren't going to be too happy to see because it's well, it looks like a combination and knockoff of them and many other games. So we'll go over all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, going over the world of gaming news, trying to keep you up to date. So even if you don't get a notification in the morning, just know there's probably a video here to check out. And we're going to start today with Crimson Desert, which is set to release next week. Seems like review codes had gone out on the PC side. I'm still waiting to hear more about the PlayStation 5 and Xbox and PlayStation 5 Pro versions of the game, because I do believe a very powerful PC will be able to run this game. How will the consoles fare? That remains to be seen, because the game is promising a lot. Well, we do have at least official system requirements and resolution and frame rate we can expect to play the game at on all these different platforms. So this is over on their social media account. And the thing that caught my eye immediately for PC specifications, I like to look at the minimum requirements immediately just to see where we are with a baseline. And it is mentioning a GTX 1060 and an i5-8500 running the thing minimum, upscaled to 1080p at 30 FPS. So to me, that's a pretty old card to be able to run this thing on at all. Of course, going up to Ultra 4K 60, you're going to have some of the more top-end cards. But even using a 5070 Ti isn't calling for like a 5090 or something like that. I also did see the PS5 Pro does have a performance mode where it upscales from 1080p to 4K, hitting 60 FPS, also utilizing VRR and having ray tracing at high. So this could be another game where it actually shows off what the PlayStation 5 Pro can do. If you're on an Xbox Series S, they do have a quality mode of 1080p, where that'll hit 30 FPS, and then performance 720p at a 40 FPS VSync set with no ray tracing on. So again, a range of different resolutions, frame rates, and usage of ray tracing. They also had a chart for Mac, which I thought was kind of interesting. You don't see that very often, but I'll have it linked down below if you want to check it out for yourself and see where your system falls. Also, here's an interesting bit of Dreamcast news. There's a certain port that seems to be in the works, at least for now, and you can see this is over on Dreamcast Junkyard. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is being ported to what was Sega's last real mainstream system there. And right now it's in a very early state where you pick different zones to go to and just kind of run around and try it out and see it in action. It also appears that the person porting this is remaining anonymous. Not a bad idea, as we see how Nintendo can move, but we have seen many ports already, things like Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64, Star Fox, and to my understanding, the way those work and are still just out there for people to check out, you need to provide the assets and stuff yourself with a ROM file. Generally, these decompilations don't have any of the copywritten materials. You have to provide those yourself, so I kind of feel like that's what we would see with this, but still pretty cool, I think, just to see Ocarina of Time running on a Dreamcast, because back in the day, that would have been blasphemy. Oh, and since yesterday was Mario Day, Martin, we did have some announcements, which we'll get to here in a moment when it comes to a certain game that has been dated for Nintendo in 2026. But another part has to do with the Lego side, which I feel like they're just printing money with this collaboration at this point. But this video was put out on social media, and it says new form unlocked, new sets for Lego coming in 2027. At the end of this, it does show an actual Mario minifigure. And remember, the figures they had for Mario was a big thing where they were interactive, and I felt kind of over-engineered. Took batteries, had a little screen on it. I mean, it was cool that it interacted with different pads or Lego pieces that you had. But I also think there are many people who just wanted the simple, straightforward, tried and true minifigure. Looks like that's something that's happening in 2027. Of course, along with some other sets, and we'll see where they go with it, maybe to align with the Mario movie and other aspects, maybe a new game at some point. So we'll keep an eye out for that for 2027. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Fortnite and them raising prices on their Vbucks, which is their made-up digital currency that you convert real money into. So that's just the whole conversion rate thing can really mess things up when it comes down to how much does that skin cost? How many packs of V-Bucks do I need to buy? Because most times you're probably going to have some amount left over just sitting in your digital wallet on Fortnite. It's something that's been used forever, especially with gift cards and other things. Not really new, but still very annoying. So in this case, we can see this was posted up over on the Fortnite website. Fortnite V-Bucks price increase. Here, look, I'll give them some credit. They didn't try to do some weird oh, okay, how can we present this in a way that sounds like it's good news? And they were just straight, hey, the price increase is happening, okay? And they even say the cost of running Fortnite has gone up a lot and we're raising prices to help pay the bills. And they say, here's what's changing starting March 19th. They bring the chart in. It's always great when you have a chart that you have to go down and compare to. But here's the deal. Obviously, $8.99 for a pack. Instead of 1,000 V-Bucks, you get 800 V-Bucks. They also have Epic Rewards. These are things you can earn through purchases of Fortnite, Fall Guys, and Rocket League when they're made through the Epic Game Store or Epic's payment system. That's very important, okay? We're going to mention that here in a minute, across all these different platforms. But essentially, you're getting less V-Bucks for the money you're putting out. They did change the Battle Pass pricing to match the 800 V-Bucks amount because most people, I'm sure, out there buy the initial pack so they can get the Battle Pass that looks really cool at that time, maybe for the new season or something. So they at least wanted to have that make sense rather than you have to buy two $8.99 packs to get 1,600 V-Bucks so you can buy the 1,000 V-Bucks Battle Pass. That would be that'd be rough. That would definitely get a lot of pushback. People weren't exactly excited about the idea of having to put more money out for V-Bucks, but at least there's that. Now, when it comes to exact amount packs, that's the one that jumped off the page to me because this is something that I'm sure many people who are trying to bridge the gap of 100, 200 V-Bucks have to deal with. That has doubled in price. Instead of 50 cents for 50 V-Bucks, it's $1 for 50 V-Bucks. And the thing that's so strange to me, it's coming at a weird time, all right? So with Epic Games, they've been back and forth in the courtroom with Apple and Google, and a lot of this came down to them having to process payments in Fortnite through, say, the Google Play Store or Apple's App Store, because what happens there is 30% is, of course, taken by Google or by Apple, and Epic Games does not like that. They wanted to be able to just say, hey, we're going to redirect you over to this payment processing system that is not part of Apple or Google, so we don't have to give them any money. Apple didn't like that. Google didn't like that. It was a whole thing, and that's gone through the court system, and it's actually come out favorably from what I've seen for Epic Games. So that's why I'm a little perplexed by the idea of them saying, okay, great, the price has to go up still. Because it seems like they would be getting more money now if they're allowed to go around payment processors and the cut set up by Google and Apple. But it comes back to, as they mentioned, apparently, it just is costing more and more to run Fortnite. And look, we've seen live service games have a lot of their plans cut down immediately if they don't get any traction out of the gate. And yeah, a lot of that does come down to these things cost a lot of money to keep in motion. The thing people don't realize, so we talk about how big Roblox is. It's massive. You look at the monthly active users for Roblox, I believe right now it's more than all the console manufacturers combined with their monthly active users and then some. So the thing with that though, Roblox loses money. People will talk about Roblox, but then not realize, oh, they lost $200 million something. I know there's a lot of funny math that happens there with accounting and trying to make it look like you're always taking a loss so that you can get around tax incentives and stuff. But it's still not a great look when you realize that's the biggest live service game right now, Roblox. And they lose hundreds of millions of dollars. And then Fortnite goes, hey, we got to raise prices because it costs a lot to run this ship. So that just makes you wonder about, while I understand live service games can be enticing if you can hit on something like a Fortnite, it's also a struggle fest. And even when you do hit on something like a Fortnite, it costs a lot of money to continue living up to those expectations. And it does make me somewhat concerned around a gaming industry that is heavily reliant on these live service games existing and doing well. So there you go. V-Bucks going up because Yeah, it costs more and more now than ever, apparently, to run Fortnite. Next up, let's talk about a Switch 2 game from Nintendo that has now been dated, and that's Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. We can see this is over on Nintendo's social media account saying, jump into the pages of Mr. E's book to meet mysterious creatures and uncover different discoveries for each one. Yoshi and the Mysterious Book launches May 21st, 2026, only on Nintendo Switch 2. They have a 3.5-minute trailer showing off some of the mechanics in the game. It looks fine. I mean, when they first showed it, I said, that's cool. It has a lot of callbacks to even, I would say, the art style, what I picture with the Super Nintendo and Yoshi's Island. Just, obviously, we have a lot more technology, better systems and stuff now with the Switch 2. So you see, I think, a very imaginative looking art style. Even the movement of Yoshi and enemies and other aspects on screen, almost a stop motion look. So that playing into the idea of it, I guess just all being in this book, kind of a story that's being told throughout. It's cool in that regard, but it right now still feels like a more simplistic 2D platforming game. And when I saw it on Nintendo's site, it's coming in at $60. So fortunately, Nintendo isn't going, hey, like we're going for 70 with this. And we've questioned that with some of their releases, things like even Mario Tennis, you look at Mario Tennis Fever, and that's very questionable at 70. I feel like a lot of people think that when they see how short the campaign is. While it does have multiplayer aspects to it, it doesn't feel like there was a jump in price shouldn't have been there with what exactly they turned in versus, say, Mario Tennis Aces. Anyway, with this one, though, it is just over 20 gigabytes in size. This is something else people will have to contend with, I believe, as we go through this generation, really at the starting line right now. These file sizes are going to keep going up for Nintendo, just like everyone else. Eventually get to the point where, hey, you're including higher quality assets because you have a system that is targeting 4K, even upscaled. You still want to make sure things look fairly clean on a larger 65-inch 4K set. And that's just kind of what you end up with. Yeah, larger file sizes. Some bit of good news here, though. It does not appear to be a game key card. They're going to put everything on the cartridge itself, typical of Nintendo's first-party games. I know Pickopia is kind of in this weird, like, gray area because the Pokemon Company, Koei Tecmo, Nintendo, and Nintendo's not publishing in all regions. Is that why it's a game key card? It's hard to say. Here, though, at least fully published by Nintendo across the board. It's just all on the cartridge. This also works to set up Nintendo's release cadence for at least the next couple of months. I know we have the Super Mario Bros. Wonder Switch 2 edition and the Bella Bella Park that's coming out here in a couple of weeks now. Going into April, there's Tamagotchi Life. And then now following that up in May, we have Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. So people are also going, where's the Direct? What are we doing here? Where are we going to see the big general Direct? It's been like 6 months since the last one. I'm kind of thinking maybe in April we'll see it now. I was holding out that maybe Mario Day would have some cool surprise for 3D Mario to get unveiled, but now it seems like for them, big focus is the movie, and they're going to make a lot of money off that movie, so I get it. It's just I think people are getting a little restless when it comes to the big pillars with a Mario or a Zelda, but for me right now, I'm shocked by this Pickopia thing. It's been a blast. I honestly playing with the family, so it has been a lot of fun. There's this underlying story, by the way, that just keeps going and keeps getting more and more ridiculous as you find notes throughout, and it's been a lot of fun. So right now with that, I'm going between that, Resident Evil 9, and Ghost of Yote just dropped the Legends multiplayer. I'm kind of content right now. I'm just playing everything I can. And then next week, Crimson Desert. It's like, man, there's a lot happening. But I'm still thinking maybe looking into April, we'll see Nintendo move on a general direct and start to set up like the second half of this year, especially rolling into the holiday season for the Switch 2 in 2026. Next up, let's talk about a ridiculous trailer that went live the other day. And I saw it and I said, yeah, Nintendo's not going to like that. But also, Palworld might not like that, and I know that obviously the jokes with Palworld's been, it's Pokemon with guns, and I mean, Nintendo is pursuing them for different gameplay mechanics, and that's still technically ongoing right now, and we'll see how that eventually turns out, but this one, everyone looked at it and said, okay, that might be pushing it, and then it turns out, yeah, they also might have stolen designs, like legitimately stolen from just people making fan art of things, so a lot to go over with this one, and let's take a look at the trailer. This is Pickmon. It's currently live with a Steam page right now, and it's from developer Pocket Game, not to be confused with developer Pocket Pair for Pal World, and it's supposed to be a open world survival crafter multiplayer game where you team up with your Pickmon to fight, farm, and build industrial empires while thwarting a shadowy organization's plot. That is how they describe it on their own page. So the joke has been, Pal World is like Pal World is we have Pokemon at home. I mean, Pickmon looks like we have Pokemon at the rental timeshare. That's kind of level we are with this one. And people are going through the trailer, picking out all these things they're copying. I saw Final Fantasy 14 come up because there's like the blue crystal, I guess, localized area there, that landmark. So I just think when you have something like this that's so obvious of inspiration, we'll say, from Pokemon and Pal World, you start to look for anything and everything. Although it is hard to deny when you see things like this, which is posted up over on X from user ElpsyFake saying Pickmon stole one of my designs. Yeah, I mean, that's some serious inspiration right there. I mean, being completely accused already. Again, it was like the next day. Like, oh wow, that looks exactly like my design. It is my design. Yeah, and this isn't the only person doing that. There are many others who are lining up their own artwork next to it. And then this has also led into the idea of, is AI being used to make this game? And that's also coming up. And that's going to be the case now as we go along anyway, since AI is becoming much more prevalent in just life, but definitely in the development space, to where, yeah, these things could have been lifted if AI is going through and just developing and pulling art assets, really the AI inspiration from the internet, and slapping it together in the rental timeshare release of Pokemon. So no word on release timing for this. At the end of the trailer, says it's planned for PlayStation and Switch. So we'll see how that goes. But there you go, Pickmon. Look out for that apparently someday in a courtroom near you, probably. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium, as it appears that some of the games going into the service starting next week have already leaked out, and I assume Sony is going to announce these probably today, maybe tomorrow, to set up March 17th when these are expected to go live. So we can see this over on D-Labs, who's been very good about getting these early, but I want to take a look up and down the list here. We have Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. It's on the PS5. Persona 5 Royal, PS5 and PS4. Madden NFL 26 on the PS5. Metal Eden on the PS5. The Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, that's PS5. And then Astroneer on the PS4. So Space Marine 2, that's a good one to drop in, as well as Persona 5 Royal if you haven't played it. I'm not a fan of any of the numbered sports games or yearly sports games going in, because we know those lose a ton of value, especially in this case, after the NFL season has concluded. Otherwise, that's not a bad list there for Extra. The place I have a bit of a problem with still is with the classics, because Sony keeps doing this thing, at least at the time of seeing this right now, where they put like one game in. All right, so here it's Tekken Dark Resurrection. All right, that's a PSP title. And look, I don't mind the PSP titles. It's really cool. But I feel like it should be titles in a month, not just the PSP title. No PS2 game to go along with it, no PS1, at least from what we're seeing here. I guess still Sony could surprise and have a random PS2 game get thrown in as well. And it's not even have to be like a big PS2 game. I kind of like when it's just this weird or random PS2 game that people haven't necessarily heard of, certainly not played, getting thrown in there alongside of, sure, Tekken on the PSP, which is well known. I just want to see Sony do a bit more on the classic side, because to me, that is the differentiator between Premium and Extras. I mean, game trials, I know, there's that. Streaming, sure. But like, I feel most people go, oh, cool, the classics category. There's a library that's built up. But if you have Premium, this is the section you're definitely looking at to see, okay, does it make sense to still have this? Or should I just buy the classic games that I want and maybe hold on to Extra? Because, I mean, if you're getting 12, maybe 13 if you're lucky because they double up 1 month of these classic titles, you're probably going to pick and choose a couple that you really want to play anyway, and then it sort of is a wash at the end of the year between Premium and Extra. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, which PlayStation Plus tier are you subscribed to? 61% not subscribed to PlayStation Plus. There we go. But then 18% are subscribed to Essential, which from what I remember, that is $80 per year right now. And then we have Premium at 15%. and then extra at 5%, which is interesting because I do think between the three, extra right now, especially from what I've seen over the last, I'll say half a year, 6 months, is probably the best value out of them just based on the library that goes into that tier. But still, I mean, premium, 15% of people subscribing to it, I think, let me know in the comments if I'm off here. But I just feel like there should be more when it comes to the classics side. Implicit conversions, they have been working to put a lot of these games out there on PlayStation Plus Premium, and I just would like to see Sony tap them more so we can get more games out there into the service each month, rather than look forward to, hopefully, one decent PSP or PS1 game. Maybe they can go crazy and give us one from each of those generations, because they're definitely not giving us any PS3 native games anytime soon. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Abe, who says, overnight worker here. When time springs forward and we jump up an hour, we get to clock out early and we'll be paid a full shift. Fallback, we have to work our 8-hour shift and clock out regardless of the current time, as long as it's been the 8 hours we needed to work. Okay, so obviously the big night then is when you spring forward, because you get out early. You work 7 hours for an 8-hour shift, and that is nice, although on the other side it kind of evens out if your shift ends up going longer because you're falling back. But regardless, that actually works in favor then, where most people are annoyed that we're jumping forward. Hey, we learned something new on this channel. See, we're all learning about what happens overnight when you're working and the clocks spring forward. You get to leave an hour early, so hey, that's nice at least. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you want to hear more about the Steam machine and when we can expect it, because Valve has been very weird with some of the wording around that in a recent update. I did a video looking into it, and I'll leave it right below. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.